Good morning. As you heard, my name is Kags. I work at the Open Institute, and at the Open Institute, we do two things. We worry about two main things. Number one, we worry about responsive government and how do we get our governments to be more transparent, and how do we develop a listening mechanism within governments so that they can be able to understand what their bosses, the citizens, really want or really need. On the other side is that based on our open data experience, we also realize that sometimes governments are very proactively transparent and they produce a lot of data, but the number of people who actually use the data are very few. So that's the other thing that we spend a lot of time worrying about, and we call that active citizenship, where we try to engage with citizens and build their capacities and build the capacities of citizen groups and community-based organizations and so on, so that they can be able to actually use the underlying sort of cross-cutting theme. We think a lot about data governance, and in my presentation today, I wanted to just discuss maybe a couple of things that I thought were important as part of the wider ecosystem of data governance. In our work, we spend a lot of time sort of thinking about data governance from the perspective of what does it take to make sure that data is freely available, that it is well used, that it is well integrated. We are always thinking about an integrated data system rather than a statistical system. So a data system for us is just not only statistics, but also the citizen level data, the citizen science, and so on and so forth. So one of the things that we have been advocating for is that where there is a data governance structure, specifically in Kenya, for example, one that is dealing with how data is produced in terms of standards and so on, we then work with the agencies that are dealing with those issues to try and make sure that the standards and the collaboration is very strong. We have worked with KNBS, who I think are represented in the room, as they developed a structure for sort of CSOs and citizen organizations to contribute data to the government, so that then the government can also incorporate citizen data as with the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. One, to try and promote its independence, so that it can be an official and strong ombudsman, but also, and more importantly, that that office is able to operationalize data protection and make sure that it is mainstream within the country. As part of that, what we have done is that we have started working across East Africa with offices of data protection they're called different things in the different countries. But what we've been trying to do is to say there should be one harmonized, a harmonized framework across East Africa, so that when Facebook comes, for example, I think they're called Meta, when they come into East Africa, they meet with the region rather than with one country. When we had a problem in Kenya when WorldCoin came in, and they used some nefarious ways to start scanning people's biometric data, and we had to push back on that because of the fact that they hadn't properly provided informed consent from the citizens. When we asked them, so when you ask different questions about these things that we assume citizens understand, they don't really understand. But then what citizens are doing, for example, online, you say it out loud. You say, my number is 0703555495. Now, as soon as you say that number, the person who's standing behind you in the queue can hear your number. I personally did an exercise where I listened to somebody's number, and then I found out everything about them because of the fact that with their number, I could go to Truecaller, find out what their name is. From Truecaller, I could see their email address. I could find out what their Facebook is. From Facebook, you can go to their LinkedIn. You then discover that they went to university here, their boyfriend is so-and-so, and so on and so forth. With that information, isn't it really dangerous? So when I told people that this is actually possible and we need to stop this, the lucky thing is that we found that in Kenya, the supermarkets then pulled back that feature of asking people out loud They've started again, but we're going to be fighting that fight a little bit. So we then ran a campaign called Feature Uchi. The Feature Uchi campaign, the goal for it was to try and make sure that as many citizens as possible understand what rights they have in terms of data protection. We worked very hard to try and make sure that they understood that what data is, what cookies are, and what how it is that they can protect themselves. For those of you who will understand Kiswahili, you will see that some of those posters are saying, nimejipata niko CRB. CRB is Kenya's Credit Reference Bureau, where if you haven't paid a loan, you're listed there, which means that you cannot get another loan. Now, the challenge for that is sometimes I have used your personal data, as I was telling you that I picked somebody's data from the supermarket. I have used that data and have taken a loan on the basis of that data. And now they are finding themselves on the CRB, but they have never taken that loan. We have argued with them to try and figure out what their, there's a book of truth. There's a book that I'm not sure whether here in Rwanda you have it or in your countries where you have it, but we have a book. In every building you go, you write your name, you write your number, you write where you're from, and so on and so forth. And now the book is, what do they do? We ask, what do they do with that book after they're done? After the book is filled up. Usually the book finds its way somewhere, but then after that you start finding you being contacted by businesses at random who are telling you, I have data worth 10,000 people and you can do X, Y, and Z, and so on and so forth. People are calling you to sell you loans and that sort of thing. Those are the dangers of data protection. Now, where this is concerned, we reached with this campaign 15 million people in East Africa in their social media accounts. We had engagements worth at least half of that because people were hearing and they were being a little bit surprised as to what that means. Feature Uchi, for those of you who don't speak Kiswahili, means hide your nakedness. It's a euphemism that we have been using to try and get people to realize that your data is as private as your nakedness, and you must be able to hide it and protect it as much as possible. In addition to that, what we have been promoting is a harmonized legal and operational blueprint that will address the region's unique data governance needs so that we have clear and consistent standards for data protection and privacy across all member states of East Africa. Now, if we have that, then that means that for cross-regional trade, for the Africa Free Continental Trade Area activities, anything that we really want to achieve, we achieve a lot stronger as a region because of the fact that we have a harmonized framework. So this is one thing that we have been proposing that we all achieve. And I want to take this moment to invite you all to Nairobi in December on the 26th and in November on the 26th and 27th. We have the East Africa Data Governance Conference where we will be discussing these issues. You can, if you have something that you would like to present, the call for speakers is still open. I think it closes at the end of this month. So please feel free to reach out and participate in this and feel most welcome. Thank you very much.